Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Easy Does It. If you clicked on this, you know we're going to be talking about Vienna Cream FA today. So what we do here is we talk about the notes, we talk about application, or how not to use it, right? And we will talk about market share as well. So I'll kick off, or actually no, Deets, why don't you just talk about market share first?
Okay, on market share, we only have two players here. It is FA Vienna Cream way in the lead. So I can start with all the flavors. FA Vienna Cream is used in 5,215 recipes at an average of 1.17%. And then the second one is LB Liquid Bond Vanilla Vienna Cream, used in 84 recipes at 1.88%. So it's definitely used way more on the FA Vienna Cream. And then on ELR, it's used in 83,741 recipes. And again, its second most used, it's Liquid Bonds Vienna Cream at 961 recipes. So that's a lot of recipes, 83,741.
Yeah, another thing, we always talk about this, but this is one of those things Richard also mentioned before. It's one of those creams that used to be in everything, but you never see it anymore. You know, I think we need to try and uncover why that is. I did some single flavor testing on it, just from 1%, 2%, and then I went to 3%. I'll just read you what I found with it. So at 1%, on a 3-day spin at room temperature, I did all of these, on and off for 3 days. It's not actually as thin as I expected, So when my original opinion of this was that it's somewhere in the line of, FLV cream, cream fresh, milky undertone, but it's definitely not that. It's got a fuller mouthfeel. There's a lot of sweetness to it. Then something like a cream fresh or milky undertone or FLV cream. There's a slight waxiness at 1%, but I'm not 100% sure if that waxiness is because of the light butter notes that I'm getting from it, right? But it's something in that realm. I would say that the cream sits quite low, even if it's considered a light cream. This definitely has body to it. It's very smooth, okay? There is a slight vanilla note at the top, but very slight, which makes this more of a fuller spectrum cream. So, if you compare it to something like FLV or cream fresh, it, kind of like sits somewhere in the middle of the mix, or, it's used between two flavors. But this to me is got a bit more to it because, there's cream, there's slight butter, and there's vanilla notes, right? Which is kind of like a fuller spectrum of a cream. At 2%, the cream and buttery notes and sweetness was way more present. It wasn't unpleasant though. It was still extremely smooth. The vanilla notes didn't become more present at 2%, which was surprising. I was wondering if that might increase, but it didn't become more prominent. So, I would feel comfortable at about between 1 and 2% to use it if I was going to use it. But you need to be careful what you pair it with. I think Richard and Daniel will take us through that. But at 3%, it started going into funny off-note zone. The butteriness, I'm not sure if I can call it that note, but it's an off note, and I think it's from the butyric. What is that, Daniel? Butyric
acid.
Butyric acid. I think it's from that, but it really becomes way more present. So, I'm not even going to do notes on it at that level, but you should be looking at it between 1 and 2%. I tested all of this in an Infion 22 single coil at about 50 watts. and the coil that I've got in is a 0.7 ohm. So that's the testing that I did. Richard, have you got some applications and information for us here?
Yeah, what I get from Vienna, to me, it's a light, almost an artificial cream. There isn't an overpowering dairy note. It doesn't get funky like some other creams do. To me, it's almost like a light processed cream that is mixed with scoops of icing. So the main application I would look for it is as an additive to other creams. And Vienna brings certain things to the party. The one thing it brings is a much higher sweetness level than many other creams do. So if you're looking to sweeten up a cream, if you have a cream base that perhaps isn't sweet enough and you want to avoid going the sucralose route, adding some Vienna will just add some natural sweetness to it. That light vanilla note, again, it's not a spicy or fruity vanilla. It's just a plain, bright, commercial bakery, dairy type vanilla, and it's light. So it's not going to push a neutral cream into a vanilla flavor. What it can do is maybe drag another heavy vanilla flavor back a little bit. So it's not going to mess too badly with vanillas. What I found as well with this is that you want to avoid it for anything that you are shaken vaping. You've got to give it 4 to 7 days. It's got a very strong acetone note initially, like an alcohol nail polish acetone type note, which does steep out fairly quickly. So just bear that in mind. If you're going to use it, don't be vaping it within at least 4 or 5 days of mixing. The other thing it brings is quite a clean feel to a mix. There isn't anything really off in there at low percentages. So you do get that kind of, again, it's almost like an artificial cleanness to the whole thing. The sugar note, the lack of heavy egg and butter notes. It doesn't have that very rich note to it. So I would think of it as something you almost get from a tin, rather than being something that you would get out of a bottle. So that's kind of the application I would look for it. A good, sort of neutral cream that doesn't have too much going on other than that heavy sweetness. So that is the main thing I would look to add with it. Bit of mouthfeel, bit of sweetness, a little bit of vanilla, and no overpowering, butter or egg notes. So that makes it a good sort of middleman to pair with another cream. Daniel, how would you apply this?
So I think one of the biggest uses, and you see a lot of people use it, is as a milk base in a cereal. I know that some people pick up a very sweetened milk. So if you know milk flavors on the market, something like TFA milk needs something like Vienna cream just to sweeten it up, because otherwise it gets quite sour. Even a yogurt, Vienna cream works well. So if you're doing maybe a parfait or maybe a yogurt bar, then I would use Vienna cream just to sweeten that up like a bit. It's definitely one of those things that transforms other creams or tones down some of the off notes of other creams. I also know where not to use it, and this is from like personal experience, but something like watermelons or any of your watery fruits don't work well with Vienna cream. It's something about the flavors clashing. So generally there are creams that you can add in, like a whipped cream that's a little bit fluffier, or a marshmallow to something like a watermelon, where Vienna cream doesn't work well with fruits like watermelon. Lychee is also one of those fruits. It's those very watery, like almost cactus or juicy fruits. It doesn't work well. It tends to work in terms of fruits, something like a blueberry or strawberry. Peach, you can still get away with, because you can play with those notes. They work well together. I've also seen some use, and this is not from personal experience, but I've seen some people using it in tobaccos. And I can definitely see how the notes from Vienna cream will complement the tobacco. Definitely something like red burley will work well with Vienna Cream. At least I can see how that's working. I haven't tested that myself. And then also nuts. If you're looking to make like anything with maybe peanuts, peanut butter, walnuts, if you want to do like a peanut brittle, then you can definitely use Vienna Cream just to tie those flavors together. All right.
Cool. Anything more that you guys want to add?
Yeah, I think one should mention that like all the FA flavors, there's no DAP in Vienna. So if you're worried about DAP and you've been using stuff like TFA Vibic or Liquid Barn vanilla ice cream, which are very heavy in DAP, Vienna would give you, a non-DAP alternative to those, with, of course, the caveat that you're losing all that richness. I mean, Vienna is never going to compete with Vibic in terms of that eggy, buttery, homemade type of feel to it. But if you're not doing DAP, well,
yeah. But why has it kind of vanished? Out of sight, out of plain sight. Because a year and a half to 2 years back, this was quite popular, and now I barely even see it anymore. Is there anything else that people are using now? I mean, I know we spoke about Bavarian Cream a little bit, but what's the reason?
I think the arrival of both Cream Milky Undertone and Flavora Cream have taken quite a lot of FA's market from it, of Vienna's market from it.
I think it's also trends, because I think the most recipes mixed up are cereal recipes. And if you look now, like there's not a lot of cereal recipes coming out. At least I haven't seen a lot. And Vienna is usually your go-to if you want to do like a cereal milk or something to do with a cereal. And nowadays you see a lot more people leaning towards chocolates or tobaccos by the looks of it.
Yeah.
I think it's also that shake and vape thing. A lot of people just don't accept a mix that you have to wait a week before you lose that nail polish note from it. There are other creams that tone down quicker than Vienna does. And it seems to be a thing that people are trying to think themselves into shorter steeps now.
I also think that it's because there's just a few more creams that came out that ended up being a lot more versatile in comparison with what you have to combine Vienna Cream with to get similar results from current creams that does exactly what you need to in one concentrate. So there's also other concentrates that's just better. Well, not necessarily better, but I would say again just more versatile.
Yeah, I think but this one is a lot, a fuller spectrum cream. I think you wouldn't have to do much with this to make it work for your application. So where you have to, if you're going to be building with some of the other concentrates, you might have to add, you have to think about a vanilla note, you have to think about a butter note, you have to think about a cream note, where this has kind of got everything there, but that might also work against it, so it doesn't have that many applications. I don't know. But yeah, that pretty much covers it, guys. Anything else? Nope. So yeah, like we always do, guys, please leave in the comments below anything that we've missed out, so that people, when they watch this video, they can see those comments, right? Also, if you use Vienna Cream for anything else that we didn't mention, or you've applied it to any other specific concentrate and you had good results, leave those in the comments below. We really appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching the show. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.